So primary key constraints. So what exactly is a primary key? In any database, the key or the attribute which uniquely identifies the data is treated as a primary key, which uniquely identifies each record in a table. The primary key values must contain unique values, but you cannot contain null values. Take a simple example. In case of student database, roll number is a primary key because no two persons will have the same roll number. See the example. In MySQL, it is create table, table name is persons. Within parentheses, you need to specify the attributes along with the data type. So ID int, not null, last name, first name, age. Look at that primary key within brackets ID. Whereas in SQL Server, try to identify the difference. Create table, table name, ID int, not null, primary key. At the time of table creation, you need to specify the primary key attribute. Even we can have a composite primary key, two attributes. Look at this example. Table name is persons, ID, last name, first name, age. And the constraint, what is the name of the constraint? Name of the constraint is pk_person. If you are using this notation, you need to specify the name of the constraint and the primary key. So we have two here, ID, comma, last name. When the table is already created, at the time of table creation, the primary key constraint is not specified, then you can use alter. The command alter table name, add primary key within brackets the concerned column. At the time of table creation, if the primary key constraint is not added, you can do it using the alter command. You can drop a primary key constraint also using the alter table name, drop primary key. If you created a primary key with constraint, you need to write drop constraint and the name of the constraint semicolon. So what is foreign key? The term foreign key constraint comes into picture if you have a link between two tables. If you are trying to extract the data from two tables, then we use a foreign key. We'll see with the example. So we have persons table, person ID, last name, first name and age. Look at the table. So we have orders table, order ID, order number and person ID. You just identify the things clearly. The person ID column in the orders table points to the person ID column in the persons table. So we have one parent table and one child table. So in persons table, person ID is your primary key which uniquely identifies all the rows, all the records. In orders table, order ID is the primary key, whereas the person ID in orders table is the foreign key. So whenever you want to get the data from both the tables, you must have one common column, common attribute. The foreign key constraint prevents invalid data from being inserted into the foreign key column because it has to be one of the values contained in the parent table. So once you are doing some changes to orders table, you need to keep in mind the data of parents table, that is persons table. So how do you create foreign key? Look at this. Create table, table name, orders, order ID, order number, person ID. The primary key is order ID, whereas the foreign key is person ID references. What is the table name? Persons table. And what is the column name in persons table? The same name, person ID. So before creating table orders, you need to create the table persons. You need to create the parent table, and after that you need to create orders table. In the child table, you need to specify the foreign key constraint. At the time of specifying foreign key constraint, you need to specify the table name, that is your parent table name, and the concerned column. In general, the same term, same name we use, person ID in persons and person ID in orders. So even you can add foreign key constraint at the time of table creation. If it is not added, you can use alter table, table name, add foreign key, and so on. The way how we added a primary key in the earlier session. So just like your primary key drop, you can even drop a foreign key constraint also using alter command.